Hello, and welcome to the localization tutorial for Audio Diaries for Horror FPS Kit. In this video, we're going to be covering the initial setup steps as well as the basic usage for how the localization works for Audio Diaries. To get started, let's go ahead and open up the Welcome menu. So we'll go Tools, Disney Media, Audio Diaries, AD Welcome. And here in the Welcome menu, we'll click on the Localization tab. And as we see here below, we have the setup instructions, which simply state to activate the HFPS localization, activate the Disney Media localization, and then import the Audio Diaries localization pack. So let's go ahead and follow these setup instructions. First, we'll go Tools, HFPS Localization, Welcome Screen, and then we'll activate the localization system and wait for it to recompile. Now that it is done, we see the integration is activated. We can close this window. And we can see below the import localization is now available. So now we just need to click Activate Localization, which will give you a prompt. We click Add, and now it is activating DM localization, which we just wait for it to recompile. Now that we've activated both HFPS and DM localization, we can now import the Audio Diaries localization pack. So we'll go ahead and click Import Localization, and then we'll get a prompt for the package import. As we can see here, we just have a few different things being imported, such as the game UI localized, the new demo scenes for the localization, and some actual localization files and data for the localization. So we'll click import and then wait for that to finish. Now that localization is activated, we can go ahead and use the localization options. Here on the Audio Diaries template, we can see localization options is available. If we do the drop down here, we can now see that the language options is available for this diary entry. In the localization values, it's similar to the original values up above, but now it's per the language that is set. So for example, we would have the name of the language, the speaker, the entry name, the clip if you want to use a separate clip for that actual language, as well as the lines and an actual clip for that line. All values for localization are pretty similar to the original dialog options, which are just lines that have the line stated, as well as the clip that's there. However, in the localization, the show time will use the original time set here, and not the time that is set per the line in the localization. As you can see, there's no option for that. Another thing to keep in mind is that the original language, or the base language of the game, we'll be using the original lines for the dialogue lines. So if the original language is not English, for example it's Spanish or French, then you would have Spanish and French up here, and then English as an option down here. A handy feature and quick way of updating languages that are not included on the diary template itself would be to click Add Languages. This opens the Localization Updater, which is now selected to Booger Not Rats, which is the template we were editing over here. For instance, if we added in 3 or 5 new languages and we want to have that assigned to this template, we can just find the language files, which is here, Diaries Languages. And Diaries Languages holds the list of names for all of the languages that are available. So for instance, if we wanted to add French or Spanish, then we would add them there, assign them here in the languages, and then click Update Language. That would assign the new languages here in the language options. Currently, this is set to the single option, but if we wanted to update more than one diary template at a time, then we can click Multi in the update type, which allows us to add diary templates in a list, and then update the languages for every diary template in that list. Another quick way of updating diaries info is to go up here and switch the use type from diaries to language. Now this switches into a language updater, and we can select an HFPS localization map such as this one for the diaries. So for instance, if this localization map had, let's say French or Spanish, but your localization file here does not have that included, then you can click Update Languages and it will add the missing languages that are not in this list into the DM languages file. Now that we've covered the setup and initial uses for the localization and how to fill in the values or update language info, we'll go ahead and look at the localization demo scene. So here in scenes we have the localization folder, and then we'll open up the AD Demo L. In the actual demo scenes, there's not much to really set up for the localization edition. However, in the Audio Diaries component, you will need to make sure that you have the menu localization data assigned here, as that is what is handling the localization display. So for example, if I click on the Audio Diaries menu localization, we can see here that we have the 4 supported languages. And in each language, we have the values that will display on the front end. For example, location names, menu section names, and then basic menu data, such as the main menu display or no entries display. And then below that, we would need to make sure that all those values that are here are duplicated inside of here, which would be Slovak. So for instance, we could copy this and then paste it there, and then change this to Spanish, and then overwrite these values in Spanish. That would be the quickest way to duplicate and then overwrite to make sure that all the values are similar to the original language assigned. Something to keep in mind that there are 2 different languages for the template and the actual menu, and the menu itself includes the base language as the first value, whereas in the template it removes that and uses the dialog lines instead. The last thing to keep in mind is that if you are going to be changing the base language for, let's say, English to Spanish, then we need to make sure to update these values in the menu sections to Spanish so that they also match the values here for the base language. The only real big changes that we've made to this scene is to add a custom localization map on the localization system. In this case, we have a Diaries localization map which has custom values that are specific to the diary menu. In this case, if we open it up, we'll see that we have English, Polish, Slovak, and Turkish available. If for some reason that these languages are not available when you open up the diary map, you can click Add Existing, go Assets, Disney Media, Resources, Localization, and HFPS. Then just assign the language files that are there. Now that we have all the diary values covered, we can see how it actually works in a game. So we'll go over here to the settings menu and then change this from English to Polish. As we can see in the diary menu in the templates, we support that language. So as soon as we click apply, the menu will update. And then if we go into the diaries menu and we click, let's say, this template right here, it'll play back and we can see that the text now displays in that language that we selected. We can actually change the language in real time. So let's go ahead and pause the game again. We're going to go to settings and we'll see that we're in Polish. So let's start a diary playback. It's being played back and displayed in Polish, and then we're going to change it to English and apply that. Now you can see that the text has been updated to the appropriate language, or English in this case. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope this video has been enlightening on letting you know how to set up and use the localization integration. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to drop a comment below, message me on Discord, or send me an email. As usual, thanks for watching.